Hey everybody, TBC here, and I'm sure you've already heard, but we have a new TLP coming like clockwork every year in Everquest, and this year is no exception, with one scheduled to come out in May. So I thought I'd start a few videos on things that you should absolutely do on a new TLP. In today's video we are looking at one for the monks. It's one that I've done several times now on a TLP. It's part of the epic, so you absolutely should do it, and that is today, the Sash questline. It's really interesting. You start with the white belt and you do the yellow, orange and finish with the red. In another video we'll look at the other half of that, and that's the headbands, which is probably more tricky and more intricate questline with some really fun things to do. But today we're looking at the Sash, so let's get right on into it. Now, before we get started, you can actually completely still skip this quest line on a TLP, and the way you do that is by killing Brother Zephyl in Wrath or Brother Quim in South Karana. Now there's a few caveats to kind of that though. One, these mobs were buffed significantly a few TLPs ago to make it harder, because every monk, to be honest, was skipping them, and they don't drop the robe every time. As you can see, Brother Z here isn't wearing it, so he doesn't have it, so it can be a lot of waiting around to get these guys to spawn, and you honestly can complete these quests before you even see a robe. So you can still do it, you can still skip it, they are still very killable, but you're not going to be able to solo them. You need the right group here to do it. And the reward you get for doing this isn't very good. You're not going to be wanting to wear it anyway, so you're really only doing this to get the robe for your epic, or maybe you want 2 robes. A lot of monks will do that, so you do the questline twice, but otherwise you're probably going to be wanting something like the FPSS for that haste, which is so important in Classic, because the faster you swing, the more you hit and the more DPS you do. And the frenzied ghoul is such a common spawn, but there's always people camping down here, so the FPSS is a really easy pickup to get, whether you kill it yourself or whether you probably pay a chrono for it during Classic. Alright, so the very first thing you want to do if you're playing a monk and you want to be doing these Sash quests is to make sure that your little talent note, like your little newbie note, that you are giving this in. So you want to go ahead, give it to him, get a little tune and get your note, and you get your little tunic to start with. Not a big deal if you miss that, because you can raise the faction by doing some quests, and there you go, you've got the typical male monk straps that count as armor. So just like with martial arts, we're gonna start with the white belt. Now you don't have to come see the quest giver before we start the quest. It doesn't actually do anything, it's more just kind of a flavour to get you on your way. So we're going to go ahead now and run over to West Freeport. Now if you are just starting on a brand new TLP and you've handed in your newbie, no, the quickest way to kind of get there is just to attack a guard, and you don't lose any XP, and it will pop you straight into the newbie yard where you want to be. And I really like the Freeport newbie yard. If I'm on a new TLP, it's one of the best places to go. Now Freeport is going to be very populated, but the reason why it's so good is because of the respawns, and it's really quick to level, even if there's like 20-30 other people in this newbie yard right here. There's so many mobs to kill. So here we are, we're at the West Freeport gate in the newbie yard. Now we don't want to zone out, because the mobs we need for the first one all spawn in this little area. So I'm going to start by getting right to it by killing some skellies. Sash is easy to do. We're going to be looking for skeletons. Now, your mobs are going to look a little bit different on a new TLP, because on the TLP they kind of undid all the graphic changes they have done over the years to make it more like that original EverQuest experience, and this is what they'll look like. Again, not massive changes, but they'll look just a little bit, cooler in my opinion. I do prefer the older models. Decaying skeletons, you're going to be wanting to kill those for the bone chips. You only need one bone chip for the white sash. If you see one holding a staff, make sure to kill it, because it could be a cracked staff which sells for a plat, and that's a nice way to start a TLP is with a cracked staff. You want to kill a couple of pawns, actually, these Death Fist pawns, because we will need 2 of their scalps. We want to make sure that and prove that we killed these pawns ourselves. So a couple of scalps, and finally a snake. We just need a snake's fang, and once we've got all that, we can mosey on back to the guildmaster. So as I was saying, I would not come out of your way on a brand new TLP within the first hour or so to even do this and get this sash. It adds like no stats to you kind of whatsoever, so come back and do it later. I mean, if you're going back to the guildmaster, you want to get the stuff out of your inventory, fair enough, but it's not something I would rush back for. So here we go. Here's Brother Velan Torosk, the guildmaster, and we want to make sure we've got our bone chips, 1, 2 scalps and a fang, and there we go. We got our white training sash. Brand new TLP for in classic. You can only be a human and do this, and there we go. Tiny little bit of stats on, again, not worth even bothering with. It doesn't even have AC on it. It's just that little bit of stamina, which is at low levels is probably 2 health. Not a big deal. So once we have done our white sash, we're gonna move on, and it's, as it is in any martial arts, time to move on to the yellow sash of order. So when we're working on our yellow sash, I find easiest place to go is to one of the orc camps. Now, either you're going to be killing them, or you're just kind of going to be looting the corpses that have probably been left by a group if they're here. These are usually pretty commonly camped early on a TLP, so it's not uncommon, like I said, to find people here killing, and like the loot isn't worth anything and not really worth saving, so most people just kind of let it rot. So you want to work your way over to one of the camps, and we're looking for basically any mob that's bigger than it's going to be at least a centurion. Early on, you're not going to be able to solo these, so you're going to want help, but if you're coming back later to do the quest, say at level 50, then obviously you're going to have no problem. So we're going to look for centurion, and we're just after one of their Death Fist slash belts. Should be loads of them knocking around. There's people killing there, like I said. Won't take you very long to get at all. Staying within the commons, you're gonna want to find some snakes to kill to get their rattle. Darkweed is probably easiest. You can also get it in North Row, but big spider. I typically find there's more snakes knocking around this area of the commons, and again, fairly easy piece to get. And the very last piece we need for the yellow belt is a desert tarantula chitin. These drop from desert tarantulas, and you'll find those knocking around North Row, loads of them. They're about level 8, 9, 10, so should not be any problem whatsoever if you've got a few levels under your belt. So we want to go back to the House of the Ashen Order, and back to our friend upstairs, Brother Velan Torosk. And he wants the belt, he wants the rattlesnake, he wants desert chain, and do not forget to give him your old belt too, because he wants that as well. And we're going to give that in, and he's going to give us our yellow belt of order. A yellow sash of order, sorry. So again, no real stats on this. All it adds is 1 HP and an agility point as well over the white belt. But we're progressing, and that's a good thing. And once we've done our yellow, again we're going to be going through our next one, which is the orange belt. And again, not too difficult. But we're going to say bye now to Buller Velan. He's no use, he's only a yellow belt. We need someone better than him to progress on to the orange belt. And the NPC we need is just outside, and that is Rhea Beslin. And she will help us do our orange belt. Now we're on to our orange belt. The first thing we need is a Legionnaire's Bracer. Now you can come back to the orc camps in commons to get them from the Legionnaires, but they're kind of rare, to be honest, because there's not many Legionnaires that spawn in this area. You usually only see 1 or 2. It makes them kind of rare. So if you've got a friend that can take you over to Crushbone, you'll get it in within 10 seconds of entering Crushbone, because there's loads of Legionnaires there. It will not be a problem whatsoever to grab yourself a Bracer. The next thing we're looking for is from Will-O-Wisp, and it's a Greater Lightstone. These things took me quite a while to hunt down. The Will-O-Wisp themselves are all over commons, but they move around so quick sometimes it's hard to kind of target them. Difficult to spot because they don't have names either above them. So when you find them, you're looking for a fairly rare spawn. That's a Greater Lightstone. The Will-O-Wisp themselves don't pose any threat at all. It's just a matter of just keep killing them until you get a Greater Lightstone. And thankfully, after running around and killing loads of Will-O-Wisp, we get an easy one, and that's the Cutthroat Insignia Ring. You can do this probably easier in North Row, but it's such a common drop that once you've got your Will-O-Wisp Lightstone, just head to kind of the north of the zoning commonlands, just above the Druid Ring. There's a Cutthroat camp here, and you'll get one probably on your first or second kill. Really easy. What most monks will do, they'll do this all the way through nowadays. It's considerably easier now just to run through and do this Sash quest. It's really not challenging so far, and we're about to turn in our third one. Just down here we will find at the Ashen Order our friend Rhea Beslin. So we get to Rhea Beslin, and what does she want? Well, she wants our Legionnaire wristband. She wants the Lightstone that we killed many wisps for. She wants the Cutthroat Insignia Ring, and she wants our previous Sash. We give it to her. We get the thing, and there you have it. We've got our orange Sash of the Order. Again, really bad on stats, but we're going to crack on now. To start with, for the red Sash of the Order, we want to come to what was one of my favourite dungeons back in the day. That is the Dungeon of Najina, and I just put out a video on this zone, so the link is going to pop up now. Feel free to go ahead and watch that. First, now the problem with Najina, it has a keying system that we gets a little bit annoying, but what we need really from here to start with, and the only key we need to get to what we want to do, is the shiny metallic key, and that drops from the captain. I can't remember the way around. Oh, there we go, it's this way. That drops from the ogre captain, who spawns right around this corner, the guard captain. So we want to kill him, and there we have it, the shiny metallic key. That's the key we are looking for. Alright, so with the guard captain dead, we can go to actually where we want to go. Now, you don't, if you've got a caster, you probably don't really even need to get the key, because you can always pull the mobs through the door. But if you're a monk by yourself, you might need to grab the key, and he's not a rare spawn or anything like that, so it's very easy to get. And there is the name above the door for the zone, Nagina. Filled with our friends, lots of elementals and magicians. So just reminded to be, there are traps here, and unless you want to mess around either shrinking to get through the doors, you kind of want to avoid them. Love the artwork in this zone, really cool. So when we get down into the drill area, the nice thing about this zone is just, you need a key. And the mob we want spawns right here. Right in this corner. So it is the southwest corner. And that's the magician that we want to kill. So we gotta kill it, and then we're gonna have to wait for respawns. Boom, magic. And just like that, there is the mob we want. There's Everquest. So nice and nothing too difficult here. Just want to give him a kill. And down he goes, and black fire. Oh, and he gave me a bag. How nice of him. Now it is the blackened sapphire that we want. On to the next zone. And this is where the quests really start to get cool, because now we're going into dungeons like Nagina, and here we are now for the second part in Befallen. And Befallen's a great zone, and it really sorts out the noob groups from everybody else early on in the TLP, because it is Train City. Now the guy we want is actually on the bottom floor. You're like, oh, that's annoying, TBC, how am I going to clear it all the way down and the key in? And yeah, I never bother, I just run over here and just throw myself down a well. And I have always found that it's certainly the quickest way to get here. And we're going to loop around here. If you see the ghoul, you know you're on the right spot. I think that's the ghoul that paths to the entrance, and it's really mean and nasty. There's definitely one ghoul that does that. And when we get to this spot, you'll see that there's actually two spawns, and the Thaumaturgist, I hope I'm saying that right, is actually a rare spawn. But not the one we're after. The one we're after spawns from this one. So let's get him killed. Nothing's good. Down he goes. Did you drop me anything good? Not really. Can't remember what this one drops, so let's just get it killed. Alright, so finally we get Priest Emmaus to spawn, so let's get him dead as well. Alright, let's kick. There we go. He's dead, and we got our wand. Again, nothing too taxing right now, especially if you're level 50. Here we go, here's Raider. She wants the wand, she wants this fire, and she wants our orange belt. And there she goes, she gives us the next one up, the red belt, and the stats are starting to creep ever so slightly higher, but still not very good at all. Now there is one more belt, and this is the one that you really want as a monk. On Aradoon, I was fortunate enough, I got it in like the first week of the server on our very first sky raid. I got all the items and I was able to complete this quest, and that is the Golden Sash of Tranquility. And this, for classic, this item is really good. It's double the haste of the FPSS, and it has some really high stats on it. Strength 15, which is great for monks, and agility and dex. So this is the belt that you actually do want to get, but getting it is not all that easy, because to get it you need to raid in the Plane of Sky, which is everyone's favourite classic raid. And I led a guild during classic on Yellowknife, and dealing with the loot and from this zone was almost a full-time job. You'd spend an hour after the raid just sorting out bikes. As how we did it was we DKP out the no drop pieces and bank all the droppables. So if somebody wanted a no drop, you just send them the droppable items. Really easy, everyone gets their item that way. But it's a pain to manage. What you will need to get the golden Sash of Tranquility first is some aged nectar. That drops from the Bazats, which is the not to be confused by the Bizarts, which you see in the background. The Bazat is, I think, the second round of spawns on B Island. Alright, for the next item, you're going to want to come up to Isle number 7, or as I like to call it, Sister Island, where the Sister of the Spire is spawned. Now, if you're following the P99 wiki, you are wrong. That item that you need for listed on there is incorrect. It will not work on a TLP. You do not want the Writ of Quellius, but you need the Decree of Quellius. Fairly simple one to get, because there are loads of these sphinxes. It drops from the drakes as well, so chances are you are going to see this item. And then finally, from Butterfly Spyro, one of the final bosses of Plane of Sky, you're going to want the Tear of Quellius, and I pulled him down to this island because this is where everyone fights him. You never actually go up to his island to fight him, you always pull him down to Sister Island. This is probably going to be the hardest item to get on a regular TLP server, because it doesn't drop an awful lot per raid, maybe one, maybe two items, I think maybe just one, and every class needs an item from him, so it's going to be down to luck whether you can get the Tear of Quellius. Like I said, I got lucky, first raid it dropped, I got it, and I was able to complete the belt quest and get it on our very, very first raid. Alrighty, so we have our 3 items that we need. You want a few months to actually get all of these items and be able to turn in this quest. So you want to go to Old Holwyn in the quest room in Sky, and much like Pokemon, you're going to say, I choose Woo. And there he is. So there's Woo the Enlightened. Spawn straight away as soon as you say, I choose Woo. And for Woo, we want to give him the lucky tier we got from Butterfly Spyro. Nectar we got from the bee, and the Decree of Quellius from the Sphinx. We give him those, and he depops, and I get my belt. Look at that, what a fantastic item that is. So there we go, that's one of the first quests as a monk that you kind of want to do towards your epic. Now, as I said at the beginning, you can skip it, but the game's called Everquest, so let's do these quests that are out there. Skip it the second go round if you want your robe after you do the hand in for sure, but run through the quests. I find them really fun. Me and Master Wu are going to chill out with our golden belt. That's the one that you want. So more videos going to be coming up as we inch ever closer to the new TLP. As soon as we hear what it will be, I will certainly let you know. I imagine that will be sometime late April. We'll find out the rule set, and then things will really start to ramp up. Please, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. Every little helps me to grow the channel and kind of carry on making these videos about the game I'm so passionate about. And as ever, I'm TBC, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.